Today is June 9th, 2025, and welcome to the 441st episode of the Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of this show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility info on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you for joining me today on this lovely Monday. As per usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I talk about tidbits, news items, industry happenings, and basically anything randomly game adjacent that has caught my eye in the last 7 days. Before I get into anything else, I just want to quickly say that there have been, I feel like, more showcases and specials and announcements and reveals and demos and betas and trailers in the span of 2 weeks than I think I can ever remember, like ever. Microsoft showed some stuff. Sony showed some stuff. I'm getting emails about cozy gaming, women-led gaming, all sorts of it's too much. It's too much to keep track of. I kind of wish that everybody who has an amazing game that they would love to show would kind of space these out a little bit. I'm not sure that jamming everything into 2 weeks when everybody else in the world is jamming their stuff into the same 2 weeks is really the best PR strategy. I mean, it takes a lot of time just to even read the emails or to just go through the videos. And just full disclosure, I'm a little bit overwhelmed with how many announcements there have been. And I kind of am just like either deleting or archiving them all. And I'm just going to be like, whenever these games actually come out, I'll get to them, because it's too much, man. There's just like signal overload right now. I do, however, want to bring attention to the Accessibility Summer Showcase, which just dropped, sadly, the same week as like everything else. This is the one put on by Laura K. Buzz every year, and this is the one that focuses mostly on different games which are widely accessible. Now, I'm putting a focus on this for two reasons. Number one, because, as I mentioned, we offer accessibility information at GameCritics.com, and I talk about it here on the show sometimes. It's something near and dear to my heart. I've spent the last 30 years working in various disability fields, and so that is something that I really care about, and I'm really impressed that Laura brings this information to her show, and that the show is always about highlighting specifically the accessibility. I mean, yeah, there's games and they talk about games, but it's about these games and the level of accessibility that these developers are putting into it. So I think that's amazing. If you're a gamer with disabilities, or if you are a gamer who uses various forms of accessibility, or maybe you know somebody who would be interested in these kind of things, definitely check that out. It is on YouTube, and it just has been out for a week or so, something like that. The other reason I am bringing up the Accessibility Showcase is because I was the ASL interpreter for it. If you want sign language, I put myself out there and did a great job for this. I think I did a great job anyway. If you disagree, let me know. But worked real hard on this, and I'm proud to be the ASL interpreter. And also huge thanks to Laura Buzz for having me back. This is not the first time I've done it. I've done it at least once or twice before, I believe, and I'm really proud to be a part of this effort. So check that out if you want to see your boy doing his thing on the YouTubes. Otherwise, if you don't need the ASL, that's fine, but go check out the show and find out what's going on in the world of video game accessibility. Okay, I have not parsed through all of the announcements and videos and trailers and all that stuff. I haven't done it. There's probably a million things that I could talk about, but I'm not going to. But what I will talk about is the Entertainment Software Association has just recently, maybe about a week ago, put out their annual Essential Facts about the U.S. Video Game Industry Report. Now, they've been doing this for a while, and I don't know if you've seen it before, but there's always all sorts of interesting little factoids here. So I'm going to get all statistical on you and just read some stuff. Now, this is all from their PR press release. They sent it to me, and I appreciate that. So thank you for sending that. Just interesting factoids here, and I'm going to just buzz through these really quickly, and you can see what you think. So let's see. Most recent report says 60% of adults ages 18 and up play video games every week, and the average age of today's player is 36 years old. Now, that is going a long ways towards countering the long-held idea that games are for nerds or for kids, or that, whatever, all those negative stereotypes that we put up with for so many years. But yeah, clearly not the case. Clearly not the case. Americans continue to play games as they age, with nearly half of boomers ages 61 to 79 And 36% of the silent generation ages 80 to 90 play video games weekly. Man, even the old folks are getting their game on, which is pretty awesome. So, not just of adults, but of Americans overall, which includes kids. Nearly 2/3 of Americans ages 5 to 90, which makes up 205.1 million people, regularly play video games. Again, the average age is 36, and on average, the average 36-year-old has been playing games for at least 18 years. Talking about the genders, the sexes here, the split between men and women is almost equal, with 47% women and 52% men saying that they do play games. Parents are more likely to play video games. 70% of parents play video games. 82% of parents who play video games play with their kids, and 52% of those folks play with their kids at least weekly, which is great. I think games are a great way to connect with your kids, bond with them, get some good quality time in. That's amazing. It says here, top 3 reasons parents play with their kids is because it's fun for everyone. It's a good opportunity to socialize with their kids and a great way for the family to spend time together. Yes, agree. And the tail end of the report here, I've skipped over a lot. I mean, this was a pretty long report. I'm kind of cherry picking this. So there's more data here if you want to like read up on it. Go to the ESA website. You can find the whole thing. But the last little chunk was about disabilities, staying with the theme here. Roughly 1 in 5 adult players report having a disability. 21%. 21% report having a disability, and that doesn't count people who don't report. More than half of players with disabilities think video games in general are very accessible, and close to half rated overall accessibility of games to be extremely or very important. Agree. Final statistic here, of those who rated accessibility of games to be extremely or very important, they said adjustable size. 50% said adjustable size is important. Adjustable difficulty levels, 39% said they wanted that. Camera comfort, 35% said they wanted that. And subtitles, 35% said they wanted that as their most important features. So there's a pretty wide split here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, like 4 different features that are all major features of accessibility. And like, you know, huge chunks of players saying that each one of those is really key and important to their own playing desires and comfort. So if you're a developer, listen up. Those are big numbers. Those are numbers too large to ignore. And if you get all of these features, difficulty level, text size, camera control, subtitle, if you nail all those, you're nailing like the vast majority of people out there. So it really behooves you to keep those things in mind when you are developing your game. Don't wait until the last minute to think about accessibility. But overall, I think it's pretty fair to say that games are here to stay. Games are not a fad. Games are not just for kids. Games are not just for nerds. It's like basically everybody's playing games right now. I mean that's a huge section of America, spanning all age ranges, parents, single people, older people. Games are for everyone, y'all, and I think this data here proves it. So thanks to the ESA for setting these statistics. I always think this kind of stuff is pretty interesting, and I look forward to seeing next year's report. All right, before we kick off the whole rest of the content here, I do need to take just a minute to say that we do have a Patreon supporting this very show that you're listening to right now. All the costs of this show are paid out of my pocket, and some of the costs of GameCritics.com are paid out of my pocket as well. If you love the show, if you love the website, I would graciously invite you to chip in and help me keep everything running. If everybody listening would chip in just $1 a month, literally just $1, all of my hosting expenses and various other expenses would be covered. If you can afford it, I would super appreciate it. All right, folks. We usually start the main portion of the show with circlebacks, where I circle back to things I have covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details here, but just think of these as quick updates to let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with them. Oh man, I feel kind of mixed up. It's been like so busy, and I feel like for whatever reason, probably the heat, it's been really hot here in Seattle. I know not nearly as hot as in other places. I know that we are wimps for the heat up here in the Pacific Northwest, but we've had a temperate climate for so long that climate change is really hitting us hard, and we're just not ready for it. Most homes up here don't have air conditioning. We're not really built for heat. And so we are kind of suffering. My brain has been melting out of my ears. I woke up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was so goddamn hot. I was like in a pool of my own sweat. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm like dying. I got to just get out of this bed and get up and just find a fan or something. Anyway, I think that's probably why I'm having such trouble tracking everything this week. But I did play Bomber Crew, circling back on that. I am close to the end of the Bomber Crew DLC, the USAF DLC. Talked about it last week. I've been toying with it for years and have never really made a serious push to finish it until now, but I really, really do want to finish it. I went to the final mission of the second to last group of missions. They break it up into like 5 chunks of missions, like various grindy missions, and then one like mission story based that you can advance the campaign with. And I went to the story based advance the campaign mission in the 4th chunk, so I'm almost done. Out of 5 chunks, I'm on the 4th. And I got up there in my bomber, like a World War II B-52 style, like, you know, kind of bomber type thing, flying fortress style vehicle, flying to bomb some enemy fuel depots and then make it back to base. Things were going pretty well, and then all of a sudden, an enemy fighter, like a really strong enemy fighter, not necessarily an ace, but somebody who was really tough, showed up and just raked the fuck out of my bomber. I was really busy because you got to juggle a bunch of different functions, and so I was trying to focus on my bombardier. I needed to look through the sights to drop the bomb on the facility, and unfortunately my radio operator had just gotten shot, so he wasn't dead, but he was out of action for the moment while somebody was patching him up, and so I didn't have eyes on the radar, which meant I couldn't jump over there to tag enemy fighters to tell my gunners where to shoot. So the gunners were kind of like taking pot shots at whatever they could see. They were not doing a coordinated effort. So we were getting like raked from fighters from all sides. Things started to spiral right there, but I really needed to make that bomb drop, and so I couldn't take my eyes off it. Made the bomb drop and then came back to my other functions, and the map guy was still out of action. And when I took a look around, I mean, there was like holes in my fuselage all up and down. And I think, gosh, how many people do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I have 9 people on my bomber, and like 6 of them were at death's door. Now, when your guy gets like quote unquote killed in Bomber Crew, you have like 90 seconds to revive him. So it's pretty rare that you will ever get a guy just like instantly killed. Like most of the time they take a bunch of damage and fall over and abandon their post. And so I was like, oh shit, like 6 guys or whatever are down for the camp. That's like too many guys to patch up at the same time. So I was like ignoring where we were going. We were like flying blind for a minute while everybody was scrambling to grab the first aid kits and to heal people who were inside the plane, because I didn't want to lose any of my guys. And so we were healing, and then like something happened, and I just like one of the guys died on me, and I'm like, oh, I can't have that happen. No way. So I like ended up just like quitting the whole mission, bouncing before the game auto-saved or anything, because like that's too much. I can't lose any of my guys. I've come this far. I just refuse. So it was fine until it wasn't fine, and then it was like a bloody shit show, and then it just like spiraled down into defeat. So I'll go back and try again. I think now, knowing what I know, knowing how the mission goes, I think I would probably change a few things. You can call some fighters in for backup, and I think I called mine too early. I think I would focus more on evasive maneuvers next time. And now that I know where I'm going to be dropping the bomb, I think I would like prepare myself a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm sure some people will say I was like save scumming to make it through, but honestly, the penalties for failure in this game are too steep, and I really don't want to quit the game so far into it. I'm almost done with it. So if you think I'm save scumming, whatever, I feel like that's just video games, and you know, sometimes a little quality life is what you need. So I'll try again. But man, when things go bad in Bomber Crew, they go bad in a hurry, and that was a perfect example of like going from things are fine to 2/3 of my crew is dead, and now I'm flying home with 2 engines on fire, and I may not make it back. So yeah, things can spiral in Bomber Crew, but I'll try again, and we'll see what happens. So there's that. Quick shout out to 40K Battle Sector. Not going to say a lot about it. I'm still doing the new DLC with the Adeptus Sororitas, which are the ladies of Warhammer 40K. Still doing that campaign. The missions are getting kind of long. They're getting to be about an hour each mission, which is fine. But sometimes I don't want to put in an hour. Sometimes I want to just come in for a little bit. So it's a little bit of a slow go, but still loving it. I'm really, really glad they have this DLC for Battle Sector. So good stuff. Also circling back on Trials HD. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not. I feel like I did. I don't want to like straight up repeat myself, but I'll just recap it just in case I didn't mention it last week. Out of the blue, I was really wanting to play Trials HD. I don't know what triggered it, but I just was like, oh yeah, I haven't played that in a long time. This is the extreme dirt bike stunt obstacle game that was like took the world by storm a couple years ago, or probably like, okay, full disclosure, more than a couple years ago. Time is kind of like relative to me. I don't know. It's probably more like 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something silly like that. But this is the game where you take a little dirt bike and you go over like all these obstacles. It's like crazy hard physics. A lot of people have described it as the Dark Souls of dirt bike games. I don't know if I hate describing things as the Dark Souls of anything, but I think that might trigger some memories from folks in case you remember it from back in the day. Went on to the Xbox Game Store and I bought this on Xbox 360 a million years ago, which is where it debuted. And I was thrilled to see that it was still in my library, and Microsoft has done a great job of carrying those games forward. So this game that I bought 10 or 15 years ago, still in my library, still active, downloaded it. It took 2 seconds, started playing it, no problem. My saves were still there and it was all good. So amazing, amazing stuff. I saw some times from my friends back online back in the day, so I could just like start racing and see who was doing what time back then. It's good stuff. If you've never played Trials HD, I think it's genuinely one of the greatest games ever created, like of all time. It is an all fucking timer for me. It's really great stuff, and it's hard. It's really hard. Like finishing the core campaign in Trials HD is probably one of my greatest achievements of all time. I spent so much time on it. It was so hard. It's the kind of game where you get so into it, your hands turn into claws as you're holding the controller. Your eyes are straining from watching for every like slight movement, every physics bobble as you're driving your dirt bike over, drops and cliffs and boxes and up ladders and doing all sorts of crazy stuff with your dirt bike. You're hunched over so your back hurts because you're so focused. You're dripping with sweat, and then every time you make a mistake, like your whole body just jumps, and you feel like, if you shake the control a little bit harder, the bike's going to get over this bump, or if you lean in a little further, you're going to make it. Like, it's like one of those games that just really sucks you in. And shout out to my friend Doug Walsh. I haven't talked to Doug in several years. Doug, if you're listening, please give me a buzz. Shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you again. My good friend Doug Walsh, who used to write strategy guides for Brady Games. He wrote a million strategy guides, and in fact, I think that's how we met. I think he came to GameCritics.com one time and we struck up a conversation, and it turned out he lived 20 minutes from me, like here in Seattle. And so we met up one time. We just became good friends, and he would invite me over to his house, and I would look at like whatever game he was previewing for Brady. He would get like the early copies, like really, really, really early copies of stuff, so that he would have time to play the game himself and write the strategy guide so that it would launch in time with the game launch and stuff. So we'd go over to his house and we'd play whatever he had going and all that stuff. I got like a stack of his like signed books. But I bring it up because he was also one of the people who really got into Trials HD. And Doug is like a phenomenal player. He is an extremely technical player when it comes to certain things, like the Tony Hawk games or something like that, where you really needed to have the skill and the combos. He put me to shame on those games. And so he and I were really going neck and neck on Trials. We would like fight over like, 0.25 seconds on one particular track, or, I would feel like I got a good run, and then he would like let me know he had beat my run by like a second or something, and then I get pissed, and then I have to jump on and like beat his time. And I think Trials HD is one of the only times that I really genuinely got like super competitive with people on my friends list. Maybe that's a normal thing for other people, but for me, I'm usually single player, solo game, turn-based strategy, take my time. But Trials HD, for whatever reason, really stuck with me, and I feel like it's got kind of like cross-genre appeal. And I think it just appealed to my sense of like wanting to defeat something difficult. And Trials, it's got difficulty in fucking spades. So if you want a game to beat yourself up on and to prove something, Trials HD is a good one. But man, good times like fighting on the leaderboards with Doug and everybody else back then. And it holds up. I got to say, that game fucking holds up. It absolutely holds up. I started up. All the reflexes came back. All the muscle memory came back within like a second. I was doing jumps and flips and going up all these inclines and stuff. And it's still an amazing game. If you never played Trials HD, do yourself a favor, download it somewhere and just play it. It's a fucking literal all fucking timer. Okay, moving on to the main portion of the show. I was very excited to see that during one of the announcements, I think it was the Sony show, they announced that Neo 3 had a brand new demo that you could download and try. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm a big fan of Neo. I love Neo 1. Really like Neo 2 quite a bit. I think these are really good offshoots of the Dark Souls formula. One of the most successful offshoots, if you ask me. Team Ninja, whom I otherwise despise, for some reason kind of gets in a different zone when they make Neo, and I really like what they do with Neo. I love the intricacy of the combat. It's like Dark Souls plus Samurai kind of formula. Graphics look great, controls are great, like lots of adventure, lots of grinding for weapons, and you can do all sorts of fun stuff. But like just the overall game itself, I think is a great experience. If you like it's kind of a combination between like a Dark Souls combat, but you've got a little bit of like a Diablo loot drop Plus, you've got like Japanese mythology and lore. Plus, you've just got like really, really intricate weapon systems and fighting. I really enjoy the Neo games a lot. So I was like, oh, Neo 3, I didn't realize there was even one coming. Yeah, I'm going to download that demo and check it out like ASAP. And so I did. I literally ran up the stairs, and I went to my PS5, downloaded the demo, started it up, made a character. It's still available right now, by the way. I believe the demo is going away on June 18th, I think. So by the time you hear this podcast, you will still have time to go and download it, although you might not want to. Because I downloaded it, made the character, jumped in, started playing. I'm like, okay, this feels like Neo. Excellent. From what I saw, graphics still look the same. They look fine. Controls feel fine. It looks just like more Neo, but to me, that's fine because I think Neo is great. But what happened was it was buggy as shit. It was really buggy. It's not ready for prime time. And I have literally no doubt this game will be absolutely butter smooth and running like a Swiss watch by the time that it hits release. But this is like an alpha demo. It's too early. It was jittery. There were a couple weird things in the menu. And then what happened was it locked up my PlayStation, locked it up to the point that I had to literally unplug the PlayStation because it was not responding to any controls. I couldn't go back to the home screen. I couldn't get out of the game. I couldn't quit the game. Everything just locked up. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to destroy my PlayStation for a demo of a game that's coming out probably in a year. So I had to unplug the PlayStation, did the hard reboot, and I deleted the thing. So just FYI, I don't think that the demo is ready for prime time, but it is there. It's a thing if you want to risk it. Or I guess just know that Neo 3 is coming. And if you're a Neo fan like I am, you've got that to look forward to. So very excited. This disastrous demo does nothing to dampen my enthusiasm. I think that Team Ninja, when they do Neo games, I think are great. They are in a good zone, and I really like them a lot. And so I'm looking forward to Neo 3. And yeah, that's all we'll talk about for now. Moving on, a game called Cryptmaster. Now, this came out a while ago, but it just came to... Well, I guess there's a new version. They brought it to console, and in addition to bringing it to console, they brought like an enhanced version of it. There's new features, new content, a couple new areas and stuff like this. So that was the reason like it got to my radar. Like they're bringing this new version to... I'm playing it on PS5. I think it's also on Xbox. But I had heard a lot about it. I'd heard a lot of people talking about Cryptmaster, but it was mostly as a PC experience because Cryptmaster is really weird. And before I say anything further, just full disclosure that I did get a code from PR, so heads up on that. So thank you very much to Cryptmaster PR. So what is Cryptmaster? Well, that's a really fucking good question because it's a really fucking weird game. The game starts with a little story saying that 4 heroes went to go fight unspeakable evil. They went underground to fight this evil, and then I guess they've vanquished it, but then they died and got buried underground, and so they've been trapped underground forever, and lots of time goes by, and people forgot about these 4 heroes, and I guess just life goes on. So what happens is you are revived, and I have to assume by the evil that you went down there to kill. Maybe you guys got trapped, but you're all brought back as zombies. So there's 4 heroes, a fighter, a rogue, a bard, and a wizard, and you control all 4 of those zombie heroes. And the person that you're with is like a necromancer who brought you back. So he must be the guy that you went there to kill, and apparently you didn't kill him. And he has now brought you back as his thralls all these years afterwards. This is not a spoiler. This is like the very first 30 seconds of the game, so I'm not really giving anything away here. So what do? It's weird because it's a first-person dungeon crawler, and it's all in black and white. That's kind of unusual. So it's black and white, and you're going through step by step, turning left, turning right, just navigating these like little dungeons that are broken up into grids, which I think is pretty interesting. But that's not really the big claim to fame. The claim to fame with Cryptmaster is it uses text in a really interesting way. And I'm sure this is old hat to a lot of people, especially PC players. But this is the first time I've ever played this, despite hearing about it. So seeing how it played out was actually pretty cool. What happens is your 4 heroes, because they've been dead for 100 years or whatever, have all forgotten their names, forgotten their skills, forgotten their abilities. They're basically 4 blank slates. And Cryptmaster incorporates words into the gameplay. So, okay, try to imagine this. Like, you're going first person through a dungeon, and then a monster shows up. Like, let's say like a goblin shows up. And every time you meet a monster, it says their name at the top of the screen. And his name might be like, Bart or something like that. Like B-A-R-T. And it'll show that at the top of the screen. And when you kill Bart, the letters of his name will get distributed down between your 4 heroes. And at the bottom of the screen, each hero has a little space that looks like a word goes there, but the letters are blank. And so you've got 4 heroes, you've got 4 spaces, each space is blank, and then you just killed Bart, and then when his letters will get divided, so like B-A-R-T will fit into any of those slots, kind of like you're playing a game of Hangman, right? And so whenever one of those slots gets a letter in it, you can go ahead and take a guess at what that letter is. And if you guess it, then you reactivate that memory. Or you can just wait until you kill more monsters and fill up more letters to help you guess a little bit better. So for example, the fighter. And again, this is not really much of a spoiler. Like, it's like the very first thing that happens. His first word will be like 3 blanks. And then you kill Bart, and then you get the T. And it's like blank, blank T. And knowing that he is a barbarian, and knowing what barbarians do, and knowing it's a 3-letter word that ends in a T, you have a couple guesses. You can think it's like, is it bat? Is it cat? Is it sat? No, those don't make sense. It's probably hit. And so you go to your keyboard interface, you hit the touchpad on the PS5 controller, brings up a virtual keyboard that you can type letters into, and you type H-I-T as your guess, hit, and you're like, yes, that's it. And as soon as you fill in those letters, he remembers how to hit. And so once that word is done, he gets a new word. And so that's kind of like the main gist of what you're doing, is you're trying to help these 4 characters remember all of their words. And they can be different words too. You know, they're not all combat. I mean, some of them are combat. You'll get like hit and punch and kick and stuff like that, shield, and, you know, all your basic verbs. But there's a lot of like interesting ones and funny ones. And I think that's all really, really kind of clever. So having Hangman as the basis of a dungeon crawler. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a bit of a frog in my throat there. Sorry, pardon me. Having Hangman as the basis of a dungeon crawler, I think, is pretty interesting and different. It gives a very different feel to like how you progress and like your priorities, rather than looking for loot or chests. I mean, you do that too, but like really you're thinking about words. You're thinking about, what is this word? I spend a lot of time trying to puzzle out, okay, well, this bard, okay, so probably his words are probably going to be musical, and if there's an R and an L in this one, what's that going to be? And I spend a lot of time thinking about that. So you cruise around dungeons in first person, killing monsters, stealing the letters from their name, putting those letters into your words, and trying to restore the vocabulary of each of your heroes. And when you go to like a menu screen, you can see the number of words for each hero. And each one has a ton of different words. They each have their own vocabulary as well. So one word is not universal across all 4 characters. Something that might work for one doesn't work for the other. And so there's like lots and lots of words in there to give you stuff to work towards, which I think is pretty fun. In addition, you do like the various word-based games. There are puzzle games that kind of have you putting in the answers to words. And underneath it all is the Cryptmaster himself, which I believe is the necromancer who brought you back. And he's the great evil you went to kill. The Cryptmaster, the person who the game is named for, is voiced with a really cool voice. Very macabre and spooky. Vaguely reminds me a little tiny bit of like Vincent Price from back in the day, if you're old enough to know who Vincent Price is. And he is constantly narrating. There's tons of voiceovers that he does. He's always commenting on stuff. Whenever you go into like a guessing game, he'll make fun of you, or he'll try to like give you clues. Sometimes you'll find a chest and he will play a game with you where he wants you to guess what's inside the chest. So you find a treasure chest, you open it up, and then he looks inside and he's like, okay, you got to guess what it is. And then you can ask him to do different things. Like if you're like, hey, look at this thing. And he'll go, oh yes, this is it's sharp on one end and it's bony on the other. And then he kind of like does like these different kinds of clues. And that's a really terrible impression. I'm sorry. The guy who does the voice is much better than I can do. But he's constantly like making fun of you and having weird jokes and stuff. And so it's almost like having a character there kind of narrating the whole adventure. The voice actor for this game really sells it effectively. I think it's a great voiceover. Very charismatic and enigmatic and interesting, and it adds a lot of flavor to what's going on. And you will meet tons of other characters in the dungeon. It's not just like fighting. There's NPCs and other people you can talk to, and like everybody is fully voiced, and all the voices are really, really good. So if you like the voiceovers and you like characters, I think Cryptmaster does a great job. I'm fairly early days right now. I'm only like in the second chunk of levels. I'm trying to figure out this puzzle I'm working on, but it's been interesting and very fun to kind of just like kind of shift your brain functions to think about words in combination with the dungeon rather than just stats and weapons and experience points and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. I think the only two minor quibbles, okay. So one minor quibble is that you have this pool of magic that you have to use whenever you want to do an activity. If you want to attack during battle, it costs that pool of magic to do. If you want to heal up after battle, you need to pay from that pool of magic. And you regain that pool of magic by killing enemies, but also there's bugs scattered throughout the world that if you catch these bugs, it gives you like a little boost of magic, like a quick way to top yourself up. And these bugs use a lot of audio cues, and they're hard to see because the world is black and white. And unless you're looking directly at them, sometimes it's very hard to notice where they are. It's much easier to look for them. But for me, I'm not great with audio cues. Even though I'm not deaf or hard of hearing, I'm just not great with audio cues. And I wish they were more visible and more easily accessible, or maybe just have a slightly different system, because I think crawling around in the dungeons looking for bugs is not very fun. And so I hoping that I don't run out of magic, because I'm not really spending a lot of time doing that, which I think is kind of a drag. I will also say that for a game in which you have to type out a lot, the predictive text function is not very good. I've played games that have better predictive text functions, and even like the Xbox store, the PSN store has better predictive text. I don't know how much horsepower is needed to be devoted to this. Maybe the game can't run it for some reason or something. But like, you're going to be typing in a ton of words, and for some reason, when you bring up the text parser thing, you type in like 1 or 2 letters, and it'll give you suggestions as to what word it thinks you're going to say. But if you keep going to 3 and 4 letters, it doesn't narrow it down any further. It stays with its original guess. So even if your guess has gone 3 or 4 letters in and it's clearly not that word anymore, it doesn't update the choices. And so you eventually just have to type out the whole fucking word anyway. So it's not a huge deal, because most words are not that long. And it's a really fun game. And so I'm not like mad about it. I'm not quitting the game or anything, but it's kind of frustrating that for a text-based game, the parser doesn't work that well. And I wish the predictive was a little bit stronger. It's, at least as good as your phone or something on par with that. So I don't know the tech challenges. Maybe that's not feasible, or who knows what, or they couldn't spare the memory. I don't know. But what I do know is it doesn't work that well, and I wish it worked a little bit better. So that's kind of a bummer. I know also that there is a voice over ability. If you've got a microphone, you can speak words in, and I think that's kind of fun. But I haven't tried it yet, because when you select that option in the menu, it says that certain features will be disabled. And it seems like it's more of an accessibility feature that might disable certain other things rather than something that's fully integrated into the game. I haven't spent a lot of time exploring that, because I didn't want to play the game if I was going to be shut out from certain things. So I'm just doing text right now. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But so far, I think Cryptmaster is weird and a lot of fun. And if you're looking for a dungeon crawler that is really different, very, very different, I think it's a good time. I really want to kind of see it through and see where this adventure goes. And I'm just having a lot of fun talking to the Cryptmaster and hearing what they say. And I got to say, it's really impressive too. Like, a lot of words that you can type in, the Cryptmaster will specifically respond to many of them. Like, if you take a guess, they have smartly anticipated like a lot of the words that they think people will say. And so he will respond. Sometimes you'll pick a word they're not ready for. Let's say, for example, you'll say like, I don't know, peach or something. And he'll be like, what's that? Because he wasn't ready for you to say peach at that time. But like most of the time, the majority of the time, he will have a response back. Like, you'll say, I don't know, shower or something. And he'll be like, oh, are you feeling sweaty? Or something like that. Like, he'll have very specific comebacks to what you say, which makes the whole thing feel like more alive and engaging, which is really, really fun. I really dig it. I also think it's really kind of hilarious that when you are combing the walls looking for bugs and searching each corner of a dungeon for secrets, the Cryptmaster knows when you are like kind of off the beaten path and like combing the walls, and he'll say something like, why are you lurking back here? Why are you back here? What are you doing? And like, it's kind of funny, because yeah, it's stupid that you have to like go to all these corners and look for this stuff. And we just, as gamers, are really ingrained to have that behavior in us. And so to have it called out verbally like that is kind of a hoot. I really enjoyed that a lot. So Cryptmaster has a great sense of humor. I think it's really different. It's really original. Doing the word puzzles is really fun. I think it's a great blend of stuff. And it is something that you should definitely play. Now that it's on console, anybody can play it. I think it works well enough to give it a shot. So definitely big thumbs up for Cryptmaster. It is absolutely some good stuff. Okay, next up is Section 13. This is a brand new isometric twin stick shooter, which has roguelike elements and a stronger than expected leaning on the narrative. Basically, you play a girl who's codenamed Red, and she goes into a top secret facility where things have gone sideways. I'm sure you all know where this is going. She is partnered up with an AI that is implanted inside of her brain, and it kind of just gives her a voiceover to tell her what to do and where to go, gives her tutorials and stuff like that. And the graphics, I think, are probably the first thing that anybody notices. They're really bright and colorful and cartoony. It looks really appealing. And in fact, that's what caught my attention when I got an offer from PR about this. And I did receive a code from PR. So like right off the bat, it's really just warm and it looks fun. Like the 2D style of the portraits is really nice and the world looks really good. I think the graphics are really a strong selling point. So you get into the game and you have movement on your left stick. You've got shoot on the right, or aim in the with the right. But then you also have left trigger to like aim. So it's like aim with your scope on the left trigger, but then aim in your direction with the right stick. It works fine. I mean, it's all good. It's not really confusing. It sounds confusing when I say it, but it's not confusing when you play it. Everybody has an ability. Her particular ability is she can shoot faster for a few seconds and she reloads faster. And you don't really know a lot. And in fact, I think this game kind of takes a little bit to get going. But you get into the facility and it's pretty straightforward, just like twin stick shooting. The twist here, and it's almost like it's so not a twist that it is a twist, is that the levels are not, well, they're kind of randomized, but not really, where you'll see the same layouts over and over. And in fact, for the first couple runs that I did, it seemed like the game did not change at all. And then I unlocked the second character, and then all of a sudden things change. So I guess I'm not sure at what pace the levels will be altered or changed. Sometimes it's the same level, but the camera perspective is different. Sometimes the enemy layouts are different. Sometimes it's not different at all. So I guess I'm not clear about how much you can expect levels to change. But like I said, I did the first couple runs with Red, and it was like literally nothing changed. And so I wasn't quite sure what kind of approach the game was taking with that. But I guess you can expect some kind of change up. So you go through these smaller levels, and Section 13 really leans heavily on hordes or waves, where you'll be going through and you'll have enemies in the environment ambiently, but then like they will appear from behind you or to the sides, which I'm not really a big fan of. And then they're really, really keen on locking you in a small space and making you run around and dodge enemies. And most of the time you're going to just die in there because you don't start out very strong. You don't have very good weapons. And it happens pretty often. There's at least one little I'm trapped in a kill box sequence in each level that I've been to so far, which I'm not a fan of. And especially since the levels don't change like all that much, like you already know you're going to be in for them when you come up. It's not even like you might see one, you might not. It's like, you know, you're going to hit one. And so you've got to kind of get ready for it. I will say, okay, so far I've unlocked 2 of the characters. I like Red better. The next guy you get is called Boy Scout, and he is basically the same as Red, except for his special ability is different. He has a telekinetic push where like you can push guys back, but it takes like 40 seconds to cool down or something. So it's a pretty slow usage. Otherwise, they're basically functionally the same. Weapons from the get-go are not strong. And in fact, I think that's something that this game should probably reevaluate, is like none of the weapons feel good to use. They feel very underpowered, and the reload times on them are pretty long, and they just don't have a lot of stopping power or punch. And so it feels like you're using pea shooters most of the time. And when you get something bigger, there's always like a huge downside to it. Like you get a Gatling gun at one point and the spin up takes forever. And then you get like this beam cannon, and the warm up for the beam cannon takes forever, and the reload takes forever. And it's not really that strong. You think you're going to like lay waste to the room, and it's just not really that great. I really don't like how grenades work in this game. It's like you feel like you should tap the button to throw them short and then hold the button to throw them long, but that's not how it works. And honestly, I don't even understand how it works, because sometimes the arc that you see when you're going to throw the grenade is short, and then you push the button and it goes way across the room. And I guess I don't know what they're going for here. And the grenades are not really very useful, because when mobs are chasing you and you throw a grenade, you throw it too far past them and it takes a couple seconds to explode. So you end up missing them all the time. The only use I've found for grenades is like when you come up on a mob and they don't see you, and you can like toss a grenade in there before they activate. So it's not great. I will also say that I really do not like the particular roguelike approach that they have taken here. You do not change very much run to run. And that's really like, any developers listening, please pay attention. If you're going to do a roguelike, There has to be enough variety from run to run to make it feel like you're doing something different. Like, you don't need to have a completely different set of levels. You don't have to have a new character or anything, but like the stuff you do has to be interesting from moment to moment. Otherwise, what are you doing? Because with the characters I've got so far, and let's just stick with Red here, the first girl, she has like an assault rifle, which is like okay, I guess, and then she's got a sidearm pistol, which sucks, and she's got grenades, which suck. And so when you go on these runs, if you have enough money, you can buy another weapon, but most of the weapons are really not that great. But like, you don't really pick up anything. Like, I kept waiting to get like modifiers to the gun or new abilities or new weapons or flaming bullets or acid bullets or something, and like nothing really happens. The most of the modifications come when you sometimes find these little boxes that give you a choice of 3 things, but it's like plus 5 damage, or oh, you recover 10% faster. Like, they're all those like really like low key kind of like small moderate bumps in skill. Like, you don't ever get like all of a sudden you shoot flaming skulls or you can fly. It's nothing like really exciting that changes the way you play. It's just like these minor modifications, and what they're counting on is that you're going to be invested enough in this to get on with what kind of roguelike it is. So it's not a run to run exciting roguelike. It's one of the roguelikes where you will simply play basically the same experience over and over, and you have to like slowly over time accumulate enough resources to slowly increase your survivability, like plus 5 health. Like, you collect resources when you're in run, you die, you go back to home base, and then there's a machine, you plug some currency into it, and you slowly upgrade permanent aspects to your character. Like, plus 5 is the health is the first upgrade, and then you get some more money, and then it's like a plus 10 health, and then it's like a plus 20 health. So it's like, okay, yeah, survivability goes up, but it's kind of boring because you're not really feeling different. You're not doing anything different. Same thing with the other things. Like, it's all like incremental increases. Start the run with $100, start the run with $300, or, just things of that nature, where you just have to like grind out the time and grind out the currency and keep feeding the machines that you slowly get survivability, and you get a little further and further. But like, there's nothing exciting about that. Like, I kept waiting to like unlock better weapons, and you do get the currency for like the weapon unlocks comes really slowly. And so I can't start with a new weapon yet, and I really am desperate to. And it's a crapshoot whether you have enough money during a level to buy a new weapon, and you only have limited opportunities. It's not like enemies drop them or the weapon shops are randomized. Like, where they're going to come more or less. And so you'll just have like one chance to buy a weapon. And if you don't have money, then I guess fuck you. You got to just keep going with the weapon you have. So I think that the developers, like, on the one hand, I like that they've leaned into the cartoony, warm graphic style. Graphic style is strong. I think that is this title's strongest asset, is the graphics. It looks really fun. It looks really appealing. It looks like you want to play this. The characters look like you want to spend time with them. They're cool. Like, I think that is a strong aspect, and it's not nothing. I also kind of dig that they lean into the story. I haven't talked much about it here, but like, you talk to the AI, you talk to their character, you come back to the hub, there's a bit of story. So like, they really kind of like lean into the whole, hey, you're here to like clean out this facility and help out the government and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what kind of surprises are in store, but like, what I've seen so far is more than you usually get in a roguelike, and I like that. I think it works well. I think that's good. But on the downside, I don't think it feels good to play, and that's really what it counts when you come to a roguelike. Weapons don't feel great. If you get a better weapon, there's always some kind of big downside. The quote-unquote upgrades you get just feel super minimal and just like stat bumps. They don't really feel like anything that changes the way you play. And then in order to see real gains and real change, you just have to grind. It's one of the grindy type of roguelikes where you're going to just play and die and accumulate resources, and then you're going to just keep paying for these like really minimal stat upgrades that just slowly increase your survivability. It's really boring. It's like the worst kind of roguelike formula, and I just think it's really dull. It's almost like, hey man, I guess I just know I'm going to put 50 hours of my life into this just to kind of see where this is going. No, thank you. It's got to be fun from moment to moment. There's got to be modifiers. There's got to be new weapons. There's got to be something that changes your run every time you play. Otherwise, it's not fun. I mean, there's just not really anything about it. Like, so for example, like, let's contrast this really quickly with Kyborg, which is probably one of my favorite games of the year so far, which I talked about 1 or 2 episodes ago. Kyborg, another roguelike. There are permanent stat upgrades similar to what we have here, but the currency for those drops really quickly. Like, you accumulate them fast. So it feels like even if you're grinding towards something, you get it a hell of a lot quicker than you get it in Section 13. But also in Kyborg, you have options. You can go for more power-ups if you wish. You can go for more currency. You have more control over that. And the power-ups you get are hella fucking diverse. Like, you you have friends that come with you. You can gain friends. You can gain like machine gun arms. You can shoot lasers. You have a helmet that puts out shockwaves. Like, and that's the kind of game where, depending on what you have, the way that you play absolutely fucking changes from run to run. I mean, one of my winning runs was I found a rare helmet that let me shoot laser beams out of my eyes, and it was like hella fucking OP. And so I start putting that helmet on, and then I got something that like helped me reduce the heat that the helmet gave off. And so all of a sudden I had like a laser eyes heat helmet build thing going that I never had before. And I never played a run like that before. And in another time I had like electricity that was shooting out, and it was like a ball lightning thing where I hit somebody and the electricity would shock. And so all of a sudden I was doing electricity, and that completely changed the way that I play. And so that's really where you want to be if you're doing a roguelike. You've got to have something that makes the run feel different from run to run. And it's interesting because Kyborg is, I mean, not to be unkind or anything, but it's like really low rent. It's pretty janky. You could really pick that game apart if you wanted to, but it has the most important thing, and that's fucking fun. Like, they understand what makes a roguelike fun, and it absolutely triumphs. It is a fucking transcendent experience. It was so fun. One of the best games I've played all year. Compare that to something like Section 13, where the graphics are, way better. Like, it's way more polished. It looks slicker. It looks like it's got a better budget. But then when you play it, like, the fun is just not there. Like, I'm just not here to get on a hamster like grind wheel. And so I really wish that they had leaned into the fun more, like, better weapons, wilder weapons, change up the weapons more often, modifiers. I mean, this is kind of like the basic template for most roguelikes out there. It's not really surprised how this formula works. And so it's kind of disappointing to see something that looks so fun in the trailers and at first glance not really have the fun there. It just feels like you're doing the same runs over and over with very minimal changes. I mean, I think my best run in Section 13 so far was I had a modifier that gave me like plus 20 attack if I had a number of enemies that were close to me physically. And then I had a damage boost when I was in the dark. I mean, okay, cool, I guess. But I barely noticed. Like, I didn't do anything different about the way I played. It didn't change my strategy at all. And that's really where a roguelike lives or dies. Like, it's got to be really compelling run to run. Otherwise, why are we here doing this? It just becomes grind, and I'm not here for grind. So, unfortunately, as much as I want to reward Section 13 for really high curb appeal and just so appealing looking, and it just has this really good energy about it. Again, kudos to the graphics and style. Aesthetics are on point. I just think it really falls down pretty hard where it really counts, and that's where the fun factor is. It is just not fun in the way that a good roguelike should be fun. And I think after my first day playing it, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like, I just feel like I'm doing the same run over and over and over and over and over, and I'm not really getting much out of this, and I hate the kill boxes, and it just does not succeed where a good roguelike should succeed. So I hate to say it, but as appealing as Section 13 is, I have to give this one a thumbs down. It is just not that fun to play. Final game of the show, Lies of P, which we all, I'm sure, know, at least have heard of and know of it, if have not played ourselves. Lies of P just dropped a brand new DLC called Overture. So if you don't know Lies of P, it is the Souls-like coming from a developer that is not named FromSoft, stars a wildly different iteration of Pinocchio, the classic character Pinocchio, where instead of being a wooden puppet, he's kind of like an android of some kind that looks mostly human, but he's got a metallic left arm that can do various things. And he is in kind of a Belle Epoque type of world. That's the new style that we're seeing a lot of. For example, Expedition 33 and other titles recently are kind of leaning into this aesthetic, which I think is really cool. I like that aesthetic a lot. So I'm not going to go super deep into Lies of P, but basically it's Dark Souls with a main character who is an android version of Pinocchio, and it's super dark, and it was super good. It was super good. The developers of Lies of P really get it. They understand how the Dark Souls formula works. They did not really iterate too much off of the main formula, but they nailed what they did. And I thought they put together a really cool campaign. I finished the game a while ago, and I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I believe they announced, I don't know if they've announced it, but they have strongly hinted that their sequel is going to be, oh gosh, was it Cinderella or was it Alice in Wonderland? It was like one of those. They're doing another like fairy tale, fable, children's story kind of thing. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we all know that that's coming. But in the meantime, they have dropped DLC for the base game. It's called Overture. This is, to be clear, this is not standalone DLC. You must have the base game to play this. And there's other stipulations too. You cannot just jump into it. It is integrated into the campaign. And so you must have a save that is past chapter 9. Yes, that's right. You must be past Chapter 9 of the main campaign. If you are not past Chapter 9, you cannot access the DLC until you get there. So if you've never played Lies of P, it doesn't matter because you should go through the regular campaign anyway. You're not going to want to just jump into this. But it sucks if you perhaps beat the game and then did like a new game plus. You're going to have to go all the way back to Chapter 9 in order to access the DLC, which is kind of balls. But whatever. Luckily, I had an endgame save that was before you fight the last boss. And so I had access to the DLC right away. So it wasn't an issue for me. But heads up, if you're thinking of playing this, that those are the stipulations. You must have base game. You must be past Chapter 9 in order to get into it. So same basic stuff here. I mean, I guess I'm going to spoil this a little bit by saying this DLC is just more Lies of P. So I guess that depends. Did you like it or did you not like it? I thought it was great. And so in that respect, I am happy to go back to it. I think it's good stuff. If Lies of P didn't really do anything for you, there's no reason to play this DLC, which, I mean, makes sense. It is narrative based in the same way that the core campaign of Lies of P was. You get this item and it leads you to this portal or something, and you go back in time. So you're going to see some of the same areas, but there's also quite a few new areas. And it's all happening before the puppet revolution that is the basis of the main campaign in Lies of P. So you're going to go back in time. There are puppets there, but they're not the only enemies. There's a lot of organic enemies and weird enemies that go into some of the factions that you will meet. You will get some backstory on some of the characters that you will find in the main game. And they kind of treat this DLC like a whole separate world because when you go to do it, you go back in time and you do your stuff. You can return to the main timeline, but the game is pretty overt about saying, hey, do you want to return to the main timeline or do you want to go back to the past timeline? So they keep the worlds pretty separate, which I think is a smart idea. Basically, you're going to go through a bunch of environments. There's like a zoo. There's a museum aspect to it. There's a carnival. There's underground sewer/laboratory sort of thing. And I think that's as far as I've gotten. I've made it through a number of really big chunks of the game, but I'm not done with it yet. And so I'm not sure what to even say about it other than it's more Lies of P, and that's really high quality Souls type stuff. So if you like Lies of P, I think it's definitely worth checking into. So one thing, I guess, I'm not sure if it's worth $30. I bought it myself, paid out of pocket. And I don't know that it was worth $30 so far. I've heard some people say it's 10 to 15 hours long, which seems fine. But I don't know. I'm doing like the cost analysis in my head, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it's good, but is it $30 good? I don't know that it's $30 good. And if I was playing Lies of P for the first time, would I pay an extra $30 to get an extra $10 or hours out of this game? I don't know that I would. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's $10 too expensive. And that's just me being kind of a stingy bastard. So I get games are expensive and you got to pay your team and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I do. But also I like to hang on to my money and I like to spend it wisely. So I don't know. I guess your mileage may vary on that. But I think it looks beautiful. It's Lies of P. I mean, it looks great. Controls great. One thing that's interesting though, is I think that Lies of P came out a couple years ago. I want to say it was 2023. Maybe, if memory serves. And we were still in the midst of like parry madness, right? We're still in the midst of parry madness. I'm not sure that parrying will ever go away, which I'm kind of sad about. But parrying is kind of a big part of this game, and that's all well and good, but I was never very good at it. And then along comes Expedition 33, Clair Obscur, right? And so parrying is like all about everything in that game. Everything is parrying. Parrying is everything. And they're really fucking flashy and they're impactful. And if you haven't played Clair Obscur Expedition 33, go play it. I mean, it's amazing. But they have a whole brand new kind of like take on parrying. And I think that the industry will be forever changed by Clair Obscur because it is just not possible to go back to parrying if it's not fucking flashy as hell. Because I came back to Lies of P where you're supposed to parry a lot. And then I was doing the parrying and I was actually doing it. I was actually pulling it off. And I'm like, am I parrying? Because nothing's happening. Like P will deflect a weapon and you might get a little red flash to show that you did a perfect parry, but that's it. No one gets rocked back. There's no explosion. There's no slow-mo. There's no black and white grayscale. No sparks, nothing. It's just like you parry and you move on. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. It's like painfully boring. I need more flash to my parries now. If you're going to make me parry, then fucking reward me for it because it's hard to do and I'm not good at it. So when I do it, I want a cookie. And that cookie is slow-mo or flash or something happens. Somebody explodes. Something happens. Because it is boring AF when you parry Lies of P now. It's like, it's absurdly dull. Like once you go Expedition 33, you can't go back as I guess the new rule. And so I'm going to need these folks at Lies of P's development house to really take a hard look at what they're doing And when the next game comes out, you got to up the flash on the parry. Otherwise, don't make me do it because it's really, really boring. It's funny just how sometimes things change. You know, a game comes out, you know, Slay the Spire comes out, and like every roguelike is forever changed. Dark Souls comes out, and every 3D action game is forever changed. And I think with Expedition 33, parrying is now forever changed. I don't think we can come back from that. I don't think I want to come back from it. And so I'm gonna, it's just like, it's so funny to see what a non-event parrying is in this game. I mean, it's important to do. You have to do it like for survivability and playability, but boy, is it fucking boring. Okay. So what else can you look forward to in this game? In the DLC, the DLC adds difficulty levels to the whole base campaign, which is awesome. And even if you're in the middle of a game, it will apply difficulty levels right off the bat. You don't have to start a new campaign. You get easy, medium, and hard. And I believe the game's difficulty base level is set on hard. So if you choose the base game or you don't change anything, I think you're playing on hard. And I did play through the original game on the base setting, so I guess I finished the game on hard, I guess. But I appreciate that there is an easy, medium, and hard now. You get an ability to go back and fight bosses again through a menu. There's also a boss rush option, which you can do if you wish to do that. What else do you do? There's a couple of weapons so far that I have found. What did I find? I found a bow, which actually is great. I love the bow because there's infinite arrows. You can hit people from a really far distance away, and it works pretty well. So if you can snipe the way that you have never been able to snipe in Lies of P before, and I think that's great. I like the bow a lot. I found an electric sword, which is just like whatever. It's a little bit stronger than what I had for my endgame weapon in the base campaign, but it doesn't feel great, and it's not really that impressive. It's okay. I mean, whatever. I spent all my upgrade potions on that, and I'm a little bit upset because soon after that I found the claws, and the claws are fucking awesome. You get like a pair of Wolverine claws, and they kick ass. They're really fast, and they hit really hard. They've got cool combos. The power-up ability is amazing. So the claws are awesome. Don't spend any of your upgrade materials on the fucking sword because the sword is not really where it's at. Get those fucking claws and go to town. The claws are great. I think there's a couple other things in there. I don't know, a couple costume pieces or whatever. So, I mean, overall, I'm trying not to like downplay it or anything. I think it's, you know, if you want more Lies of P, it is more Lies of P. I think it's fun. If you like Lies of P, I think it looks great. It feels just like the main game. It integrates in the campaign, which is great. Gives you difficulty levels, which is great. Couple new weapons. And if you play this game for the first time, it'll be nice because, oh, I forgot. You also get a couple new mechanical arms. You get one, which is a shotgun, which sucks. And you get one, which is a blade shooter, which I have not unlocked yet. So I'm really excited for the blade shooter, but hopefully I will find it soon because I need another weapon pretty quickly. But the shotgun blows. I do not care for it. But anyway, I think it adds a lot of stuff. And if you're playing the game for the first time, I mean, I guess in that sense, you should get the DLC because once you hit chapter 9, you will have this like little diversion you can go on. You'll get a couple weapons. The claws are fucking awesome. And I think the bow is fucking awesome. And to bring those back into the main campaign would be kind of game changing. So I think that might be worth it just from that aspect. But if you don't like Lies of P, nothing here is going to change your mind. If you do like more Lies of P, then here it is. It's more of it. And I'm having a good time with it. I will definitely finish the campaign. I think P is great, and I'm really looking forward to their next thing. So yes, thumbs up to the Lies of P Overture, with the caveat that it is just more of what you got last time, which to me is a good thing. All right, game portion of the show is officially done, but like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, folks. It's time for the TV and movie roundup. We're going to go real quick here because I'm running out of time due to IRL responsibilities. First up, Motel Hell. Watched this with the wife on one of our horror movie mornings. Had a cup of coffee and a blanket, chilling out on the couch. This is from, I believe, 1980. Really kind of a funny thing. It's about a couple of farmers who have a motel, and it's ironic because it's called Motel Hell, but really it's not really about a motel at all. It's about these farmers who capture people who drive by their farm and then plant them in a quote-unquote garden and kind of like fatten them up while they are immobilized in the ground and then turn them into sausage. It's a pretty wild premise. It's goofy. It's funny. It's definitely a product of the 80s. It straddles that line between the 70s and the 80s where we haven't quite hit the grossness and the in-your-faceness of the 80s, and we're still kind of doing the extended like emo scenes of the 70s. So it's right in the middle of it, but it's worth a watch. I think there's a couple of laughs. It's got some good imagery. And it's not really that hardcore, honestly. It's pretty lightweight as far as horror movies go. So thought that was pretty good. Wife and I finished up the UK miniseries of Generation Z. It was hyped up on Amazon as kind of a horror comedy that looked like it was about boomers who become zombies, but it actually wasn't that funny. I struggle to call it comedy, honestly. I think it's more about political commentary and just a really different take on zombies. It ended up being really good. It was kind of brutal. It was pretty sad in some places. But basically this virus took anybody who was of a certain age and turned them into a zombie, but very different kind of zombies. They retained their intelligence. They retained the ability to speak. They could plan. They were basically just like people, but they looked a little gross. But they had like higher resistance to physical pain, and they healed faster. It ended up being pretty good. It was really interesting. And I will say that the zombies in this movie have one of the most, I don't know, just really intense and unique facial makeups I've ever seen for a zombie. It was almost as though the skin on their faces was kind of thickening and cracking, and the skin around their mouth was getting kind of black. It's really striking, and it was very just like, oh boy, that is, I don't know what I'm looking at, but that is really arresting. It was a very interesting makeup, so I appreciated that, because I do have quite an interest in like horror makeups and movie makeups and stuff like that. But Generation Z was pretty good. Lots of political commentary talking about the older generation eating the younger generation. I think we're all feeling that these days. And it was just really something different. I always appreciate getting kind of UK miniseries because they're very different from American series, and you never quite know what you're going to get, which is worthwhile, I think. Last thing we've been watching this week is a series called Still Standing. It's from Canada. Stars Johnny Harris, who is a comedian. He's also in the Murdoch Mysteries, which is something we're a big fan of. But Johnny Harris goes around small, struggling towns in Canada, and I had no idea there were so many small, struggling towns in Canada. There's like a million of them. And so he'll go to this town of like 800 people or 1,200 people, and it's like this cute little cluster of buildings in the middle of a fucking wilderness. And he talks about like, he meets the people and sees, you know, what they're doing to keep themselves busy. Why do they still live here? How are they surviving? What's the economy like? But it's like very funny. He's a stand-up comedian in addition to being an actor. And so he'll like riff with these people. And at the end of each show, he will take everything he's learned after he meets the people of the town, and he'll do like a little stand-up routine talking about what he learned and how funny people are and how life is in Canada. And it's really well done. It's not poking fun at them. It's kind of like laughing with them, or like kind of celebrating their uniqueness while also, you know, genuinely getting laughs. And it's just a really like positive feeling, well-meaning show that kind of puts a light on these folks out in the middle of nowhere in Canada and kind of just like celebrates them for a little bit. It's really interesting. Every episode is like half an hour, and we've learned so much about like the hinterlands of Canada and Canadian life and like what it's like for these people out in the middle of nowhere. Really, really good stuff. Very interesting. It's on Tubi, I think, for free, and we're watching just like half hour at a time, so it's really, really good. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, we'd love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, but most important of all, please recommend this show to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, want to get your questions and comments. Haven't done a question show in a while, but I think I might be gearing up for one. So if you got questions, comments, anything, please send it in. You can hit me up directly at sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach me on social media, on Instagram and Blue Sky specifically. It's my name, BRADGALLAWAY, all A's, no O's. You can also hit me up in the Soviet Games Discord, which is totally free of charge. Hit me up through any of the channels I just mentioned, and we'll get you on board to continue that convo. And finally, once again, if you would like to support this very show and help with the cost of running the podcast, you can do that over at patreon.com/the Soviet Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. All right, that's going to do it for episode 441. Thank you again for joining me here on the Soviet Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.